Hey book friends, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another Friday Reads video where I talk about what I've finished reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I plan on reading next. And as you will see, this video contains quite a few historical fiction books because I am still in the middle of participating in Historathon. But you will see one extra type of book only because I can't read just historical fiction. It's just a little too emotionally challenging. But irregardless, let's hop in to all of the books. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel if you're new here, or welcome back if you've been coming for a while. So like I said, it's going to be a Friday Reads video and I have a lot to share with you. I have been really enjoying the books I have been picking up. I've only finished one. So I have finished this book. So the book is Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee. So what can I say about this book? I liked it. I didn't love it, but it did have a lot of interesting storylines that I really appreciated. So it's basically about this girl named Valera who is looking for her twin brother. She grew up in England, but she is half Chinese. And the time frame is the turn of the century. And at that point in time, there was this thing called the Chinese Exclusion Act, which I think was one of the more interesting parts of this book. But it's basically where the US was not allowing in Chinese immigrants. But this girl was looking for her brother and she knew that he was on the Titanic, and so she tried to get aboard. She had problems with that. She snuck on. I talked about that last time. So now I don't want to give away too much more than that, other than the fact that it is the Titanic. And what is known in the history books is there was like 8 or 9, I can't remember exactly what the author said, but Chinese people on the boat, and most of them survived, which was a more impressive percentage than the rest of the passengers. And so the author thought it warranted a book, which I thought was really interesting. And she also stated the fact that they don't know too much about those individuals. And so she took a lot of liberty in this historical fiction, which she should have. I thought she did a really good job. The thing that probably threw me from the very beginning was I did not realize this was young adult. And about halfway through, I'm like, this is just reading like a young adult book. And then I realized it is young adult. And when I say that, I just mean that things were just a little too easy, or there was like some aspects of the plot that were just so convenient that you're like, just the odds of that happening and the way it played out honestly was not realistic for me. And it took me out of the storyline. And that's the hard part about reading young adult, in my opinion. But as for like the characters, I enjoy the characters. I did not get enough time to really feel super connected to them, which again was probably where I struggled. I feel like by the end, by the time we're getting to like the accident of the Titanic, I started to care a little bit more, but I wasn't totally invested. I wasn't like edge of my seat, like how are they going to survive? What are they going to do? I just didn't totally feel that. And so I feel like the letdown for me were those things. First was the plot wasn't super dynamic, and I also wasn't connecting with the characters. So those two things kind of pushed me away from it, but I did enjoy being on the Titanic. And like I said in my last Friday Reads, I want to pick up more books about the Titanic. So I feel like this is more of like a 3.5 stars for me. It was good, but it didn't totally catch my attention, and I think it's because I'm not its target audience. All right, to move on to the books I'm currently reading though. So I'm reading all 3 of these. And in the last video, I talked a lot about this one, and I am over halfway on it now. I'm at page 330, and I'm still really enjoying it. I feel like it has slowed down a bit, and it's going through a bit of a lull that I just wish there was more action, and I'm feeling like I'm not wanting to pick it up as much as I was at the very beginning when I first started talking about it. And so this book is The Women of Chateau, Lafayette by Stephanie Dray. And I still hold to the fact that I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a really interesting book. I feel like certain storylines I'm liking more than others, which is an issue with like dual perspective. In this case, there's 3 perspectives, or like 3 timelines, if you will. So I'm really enjoying the earliest time frame, which is around the time of Lafayette, when he was actually alive, when he was fighting for America, when he was coming back to France and shaking things up and really kind of spearheading a bit of the French Revolution. And I'm really enjoying that glimpse into that time frame. Honestly, I wish the whole book was about that time frame because I'm finding that really fascinating. I'm finding his wife really fascinating. Learning more about kind of that royal society around that time, I'm really interested in. And so I wish there was a little bit more there, or at least I wish it was going faster. I wish the drama was a little higher on that part. The other two timelines, so there's a World War II and a World War I timeline where you are getting to know some of the other characters, women who are associated with this castle or this Chateau Lafayette. The woman that's around World War I has her storyline where you're following her family and what's going on with World War I, what's going on with her marriage and things like that. How does she become involved with the castle? That's not really apparent at first, and I don't want to say too much about that, just so you can explore that yourself. But I've enjoyed that. I feel like not as much as the first storyline, and I feel like there are some Easter eggs in here where you're learning more about some of the other timelines, but not enough. I'm getting a little bored with Beatrice, or the second timeline, and then the third one is not present day. I almost said present day. It's World War II. I'm not loving that main character as much, and in that time frame, the chateau is used as more of like a sanatorium or a place for kids to go when they are sick and they need to recover. And she has been orphaned since World War I, and she doesn't know who her parents are, although that is a storyline in her section of the book. Sorry, I feel like that wasn't the best explanation of what's going on, or really even what I'm feeling about it. I'm just feeling like it slowed down, and I'm still like 200 pages to go. So I'm not sure where this is going to land, or even what questions we still have. And I think that's kind of lowering my enjoyment of the book, but I would say it's still good and I'm still enjoying it. All right, to move on to the books that I have basically just started. So I started this book. So this is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. So this is very much epic high fantasy. It's a very big book. It's a first book in, I believe, 5 books. And I feel like it has hooked me from the very beginning. I was a little surprised because a lot of times I have found in fantasy books, some of them take a long time to get started, or they have to explain a bunch of stuff about the world. I feel like this author did not take that direction. She kind of just tossed you in, which I'm enjoying, kind of learning about what's going on. I feel like the general gist of the storyline is going to be kind of a chosen one saves the day sort of idea, but at the very beginning, you don't know what he's saving everybody from, or is he even going to be the savior character? You really don't know what's going on. All you know is that there is this main character named Kieran who is in jail, and that's how the story starts. That starts with him being in jail, and there's a person with him who is kind of like his warden, or the person who's like watching him. Although from the very beginning, you know she is not normal. I think she's like called a monster from like line 2, but she leads the story off with being like, I'm bored, tell me a story. And he's like, I don't want to tell you a story, you already know my story. But she insists, and they start telling his story. It's basically, how did he get to where he is now? And so they go back in time, and he starts telling his story, and he tells a bit of it, and then she intervenes, and she's like, oh no, you did not start early enough. And so she brings the story back like an extra year or 2 in his life to give a little bit more backstory. And so the whole book, I believe, is going to be told like that, where the 2 narratives are just a little bit separated as they're telling the story, and then I believe it comes together at the very end. I'm really enjoying it. I'm feeling like I want to pick it up. And for me, how I really know that a book has drawn me in and I'm just curious about it is if I'm doing homeschool with my kids, and while I'm teaching them, and maybe they have to do like a bit of their math sheet themselves, or I give them instructions, but I can't really go do anything. I want to bring this book out. And I don't always feel that way, but I do with this book. So that tells me that it has hooked me, big time hooked me. And I am so curious because this has such mixed reviews. I think a lot of it sounds like it has to do with how the story's told, and maybe the fact that it's a bit confusing, but I'm not finding that to be totally true yet. But I'm very much at the beginning. Like I said, I made it like 80 pages in last night, and so I'm at the beginning. I'm just starting out on this one, but I'm so interested. I want to know what happened to him. How did he get from like this 15, 16-year-old to current present day? And it just sounds really interesting. I believe this is actually a debut novel, which I'm impressed by, although that does make me a little nervous because like when I read things I don't understand, I'm like, oh, I'm sure the author's gonna like wrap that up and I'm gonna understand. And the fact that it's a debut makes me be like, oh, I hope they are. I hope they're not just confusing me, or I'm expecting too much from the story or the author. I don't know. That could go either way. But as of right now, that's the book I want to read the most, which is unfortunate because, like I said, it's during Historathon. But I picked it up because I also picked up this book, The Lost Girls of Willowbrook by Ellen Marie Wiseman. And I know this book might be a struggle for me to get through, and it might just be emotionally draining. And so basically, I thought about this last time I was recording a Friday Reads. I just started both at the same time. I knew that this might kind of help balance me. But what I've also decided is that if this book is too much, I'm just going to DNF it. I'm not in the right season for super emotionally heavy. So this book is about a girl named Sage. She is a twin who lost her twin sister like 6 years prior to pneumonia, or so she believed. And then she finds out early in this book that actually her sister Rosemary was sent to this like state school called Willowbrook, which is meant to be for the mentally handicapped. And this was done in like the 60s or 70s. And so when Sage finds out that her sister is alive and not dead, she wants to find her sister, but then she finds out that her sister has gone missing from this institution. And she shouldn't go missing. Like, her stepfather painted this picture of like, she's just fine, the doctors are taking care of her. And so she's gonna go check it out for herself. And from what I understand is that somehow Sage gets wrapped up into Willowbrook, maybe like mistaken for her sister or something to that notion. Not sure how it plays out yet, but I feel like you start to feel the story in a more personal way, which is historical fiction, right? That is like what makes the genre so appealing to me, is that I feel it. I get in it, I'm very much engaged, but there's times when I'm not sure if I want to feel a story like this. And this feels like one of those that's just a little too much. Like, I was listening to Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day. She just finished this book and she reported it being very gritty, but emotionally impactful. Like, she liked the book. So that's very promising for me. But the gritty word is the word that I'm always like, oh no. I don't ever like when a book is called gritty, because I feel like I associate that with more like psychological thrillers or thrillers in general, that there are hard things going on and the author is taking you into the hard things and making you feel them. And I'm just not sure if I'm ready for that. So, like I said, I'm holding this book loosely. I'm about a chapter in. I read a chapter and it is very much setting the stage. And yes, I get what she meant by gritty. And I haven't even gotten to Willowbrook yet. But just the writing style and just the way the author is just describing her life and the way she approaches life and just the hardships she is living through with like her mom and her stepdad and the city and just how she chooses to live her teenage life. You can already feel her character as just this like angry, misunderstood teenager who has had some hard breaks, right? Like, that her life has not been easy, and you can already tell that in the first chapter. And so that's just the main character. I'm already feeling that way. I'm just like not sure how the rest of the book is going to make me feel. But anyway, those are the books I'm currently reading. That's a lot. Honestly, these two books alone are very large, and I still have lots to read. But if, say for instance, I cannot finish this book, which I will definitely update you on how this goes. Probably not another Friday Reads, probably my wrap-up video. But if I cannot finish this, then I wanted to have another historical fiction that I wanted to pick up. And I have my whole Historathon TBR, right? And I haven't been going in order. I've just been picking and choosing. And one of the books I still have left on my TBR is a Susan Meisner. And I feel like if it's just too much, Susan Meisner is never too much. I mean, she very much engages my emotions with her writing, but not in a gritty way. Like, all the books I've read from her have a lot to do with like wartime and Spanish flu and things like that, right? It's hard, but it's not gritty hard. So we'll see. I hope that makes sense, what I mean about gritty. And if you feel the same way, let me know down below. We can commiserate together, because that's just a personal reading style of mine. But to get back to The Last Year of the War by Susan Meisner, this is a book about World War II. This is a book about the internment camps in America. So this is about two teenagers. One is Japanese American and the other is just a typical American teenager. They're friends, and then something happens with the teenager's dad. Like, he becomes like a Nazi sympathizer, or he's suspected of that or something like that, and that changes everything. Like, her and her family then get like exchanged for some war prisoners, and they get sent to Germany or something like that. So it sounds very good. Sounds very like hard, historical fiction hard, but I'm hoping not like gritty hard. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But anyway, guys, that is a lot of books. That's a lot of books. And I am happy to be back in historical fiction. My gosh, I just think I picked a couple harder hitting historical fiction. So yes, that is what I have for my Friday reads. I hope you all are doing well. Are you participating in Historathon? If so, let me know what you're reading and let me know how you're liking it, all the things. Let me know down below. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to. Otherwise, guys, I will see you in the next book video. All right, take care.